Hello, I'm Penny, a 29-year-old woman. This story was something that needed to have happened long before me. Still, the way that things played out never fails to make me laugh. Let me get started. I met my husband, Jared, when I graduated college. We happened to bump into each other in the park as we were walking our dogs. Our dogs took quite a liking to each other, and that got us talking. After that, we began to meet each other almost every day. The more we talked, the more we realized how much we had in common. One day, Jared asked me out on a date without our dogs. It had been a while since I had gone out on a date, so I got all dressed up. I was super nervous, but when Jared arrived at my place and I sat in his car, all my nervousness disappeared. He complimented me on my looks and he made me feel comfortable immediately. He had this wonderful way of putting me at ease. I had the time of my life on that date. That one date became many more dates after. We began to spend nights at each other's homes, just cuddling in and watching our favourite shows. It didn't take very long for us to make our relationship official. We introduced each other to our friends, and when we were approved by each other's friends groups, we decided it was time to introduce each other to each other's parents. Meeting Jared's parents was nerve-wracking, but I hoped for the best. Jared's dad, Barty, seemed friendly, but he also seemed a bit awkward. His mother, Jackie, on the other hand, turned out to be quite the opposite. Barty greeted me warmly as soon as I walked in through the door. He even complimented Jared on finding someone as pretty as me. But at the same time, Jackie just glared at me since I walked in. As we settled into their living room, Barty tried to initiate some talk. He asked me about my interests and how Jared and I met. He seemed genuinely curious and kind-hearted. Meanwhile, Jackie barely acknowledged me. She busied herself in the kitchen. When she did need help with setting the table, she called Barty and Jared to help. I walked over and decided to help regardless, but she only thanked Jared and Barty. Jared was growing angrier by the second, while Barty just awkwardly looked at Jackie, wishing she would be nicer to me. When dinner was finally served, the tension grew thicker. Jackie sat across from me, barely touching her food. During the awkward silence, she suddenly turned to Jared. "So, sweetie, this is the best you could do? She's pretty plain, isn't she?" "Excuse me?" "Tell me, Penny, do you have any substantial plans for your future? Jared needs someone who can keep up with his ambitions." "Yes, I'm currently working as an art contractor." "Oh, so you have a degree in arts?" "Yes." "Oh, how nice. I suppose that keeps you busy while Jared focuses on his career." "Mum, that's enough. We're here to introduce Penny, not interrogate her." "Oh, don't be so touchy, Jared. I'm just looking out for your best interests." "We came here to share something important with you, but it seems you're not interested in that. We're leaving." The awkward silence that followed was palpable. Barty shuffled uncomfortably, clearly caught in the crossfire. I could feel my cheeks burning. I was humiliated. Since no one was saying anything, Jared took my hand and we left. As we stepped out of their house, I could feel the tension lifting. Jared's grip on my hand was tight, his frustration palpable. I squeezed his hand, offering him a supportive smile. We walked away from that house, leaving behind the negativity. While Jackie's words stung, they also made me realize how lucky I was to have someone like Jared who stood up for me. As we walked back to our car, he turned to me with a soft smile. He apologized for his mother's behavior. At that moment, I knew our bond was stronger than any harsh words. We had each other's backs, and that was all that mattered. I spent the next week still recovering from whatever Jared's mum had said. I mean, those kinds of things affect you. But Jared was so wonderful and supportive of me that I was able to get over it a lot quicker than I usually would have. The weekend after we visited Jared's parents' place, I got a call from an unknown number. I was very confused because I didn't usually give out my phone number to anyone, and whoever had my phone number, I knew them. Jared was sitting next to me, so I showed him the number and he looked surprised. He told me it was his dad's number. I looked at him in confusion and asked him how his dad got my number. Jared thought about it for a little while and then laughed at realization that hit him. He told me that he had been texting his dad a few days ago and his dad had asked for my number then. He apologized for not having told me, but also told me that his dad had something to tell. I was nervous to find out what his dad was going to tell me, but my curiosity was killing me. I called him back. "Hey, Barty, I'm sorry I missed your call. I don't usually pick up calls from unknown numbers."
It's okay, I would do the same.
Jared told me you had something to say?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to apologize for what had happened at dinner last week.
It's okay. Jackie only wants what's best for your son. It might take her some time to accept me, but that's okay, because I'm willing to wait.
Oh, you're so sweet. That's exactly why I wanted to apologize. Jackie is very hard to please. I'm sorry I didn't say anything that day either.
It's okay, I didn't even expect you to.
No, this isn't the first time Jackie's done this. I guess I was just upset and annoyed with her. I didn't want to cause a scene with you being there, but I realized that it may have come off as me being on her side.
It's all okay, Barty. Seriously, I'm glad that you even thought as much about me. Thank you.
I promise to have your back a lot more from now on.
Honestly, that one conversation with Barty put me at ease immediately. It was the sweetest thing that someone's done for me. He had my back without even fully knowing me. Having both Jared and his dad have my back was really nice. Over the next 2 years, Jared and I got even more serious. We realized we spent so much time together that we may as well move in together. Living with your partner tends to open up a lot of problems, but that was never the case for us. We just ended up getting even closer. About the 3rd year in our relationship, Jared and I decided we wanted to go on a little vacation together. We went to this beautiful lake about 5 hours away from us. We rented a cabin and spent most of our day swimming. It was during this time that Jared proposed to me. Of course, I was beyond overjoyed. I said yes, and we began to plan our dream wedding. We both wanted to have a big and festive wedding. It was a big event, and we wanted to celebrate with everyone we loved and cared about. We decided to put aside all issues from the past and just enjoy our day. On the day of our wedding, things were going pretty smoothly until the reception. Of course, we did not want to have a dry wedding, and we sprung for a bar. Jackie had a bit too much to drink. She began going round to all our guests and bad-mouthing me. She told everyone about how I was leeching off her son. She told them that I was only marrying him for his money and that she gave us another year max before we got divorced. Now, you can imagine just how embarrassed I was when a bunch of my friends and family approached me to ask me if what Jackie was saying was true. Jared was furious, but every time he tried to approach his mother, she would see him coming her way and immediately scurry away. When he realized that there was no way for him to get in contact with his mum, he talked to his dad. But he was unaware of what was happening, and he was understandably horrified when Jared filled him in. Barty managed to get a hold of Jackie and left the party. I was upset, but I decided not to keep thinking about it and instead enjoyed the rest of my night without Jackie's presence there. When we got home at the end of the night, Jared and I discussed how we felt about everything that had gone down.
Once again, I'm so sorry for everything my mum said.
I just don't understand what I did to her for her to treat me this way.
Oh, honey, you didn't do anything. My mum's just awful. I really don't know how my dad puts up with her.
What do you mean?
She's been like this since I was born. She became this snobby and entitled person.
How do you know this?
Well, I had one serious relationship in college. I had loved that girl and I did plan on marrying her, if I'm being completely honest. Well, you can imagine how my mum treated her because clearly we're not married right now. The night she broke up with me, my dad and I sat on our porch and talked about my mum. That's when he told me about everything. On one hand, I'm glad I got to have you, but on the other, Jackie's just plain evil, isn't she? She really is. My dad is still sticking with her because he still believes that somewhere in there, the woman he fell in love with still exists. Oh, I mean, this doesn't make me feel sorry for Jackie in any way, but I do feel bad for Barty. Yeah, my dad's always had my back, and I wish I could do something for him. My dad's constantly doing damage control for all the embarrassing things my mum does, and I don't think he should always be doing that. Well, if your dad ever decides that he's had enough, we'll be there to support him. I never really thought about how Barty would have truly felt when Jackie did all those embarrassing things. I mean, I knew he felt bad, but it never struck me that his entire life after Jared was with him just was cleaning up after his wife's messes. I knew for sure that I wouldn't have been able to bear living a life like that. I respected Barty immensely for his patience and perseverance. A couple of days after we got married, Jackie called us. She did not sound pleased when I picked up the phone. Hello? It's you! Give the phone to Jared. Jared's taking a shower right now. Is there something you wanted to tell him? I could pass the message on to him. I'm only doing this because Barty's forcing me to, but I want you guys to come over and spend the week with us. Oh, I don't know if that's such a good idea. Look, just be happy that I'm even entertaining this. Why is Barty even asking you to do this? Because I was apparently misbehaving and very disrespectful at your wedding. He won't talk to me until I make it up, and he suggested I do this. I can't go on living with him giving me the cold shoulder, so here I am. Are you actually sorry, though? I don't have time for this. Just tell Jared to be here by noon this weekend and to bring enough clothes to last till the end of the week. Bye! A part of me didn't want to go. When I told Jared about it, he told me that he would leave the decision to me because he didn't want to put me in an uncomfortable position. He told me he'd support whatever I chose and would have my back if his mum said anything. Knowing that, I was going to call Jackie and telling her we won't be coming until she apologised properly. But then I thought of Barty. I remembered that this was him trying to stand up for me and make things better at his expense. I felt bad for him and didn't want him to feel like I wasn't appreciating his efforts, so Jared and I decided to go. Even if Jackie never properly apologised, we'd at least get to spend some quality time with Barty. As expected, as soon as we entered the house, Jackie began treating me coldly. I didn't know why she thought this would look like an apology, but she didn't even try to seem apologetic. Barty and Jared seemed ticked off too, but neither of them said anything because Jackie hadn't said or done anything worth confronting as yet. The first night we were there, Jackie headed to bed earlier than the rest of us. Barty, Jared and I sat in the basement den and talked for a while. Barty apologised on Jackie's behalf. Again? I was beginning to get peeved that everyone else but Jackie was apologising to me. Barty began to tell us about how much of a hell it was becoming to stand Jackie. It's getting to a point where I don't even know why I loved her in the first place. Oh, Dad. I mean, I'm really grateful to her for giving me you, but I think that's about where my love for her stops. You know, the other day, Jared and I were kind of dancing around this topic, but... Yeah, Dad, did you ever consider, I don't know, getting a divorce? Unfortunately, I have. In fact, Barty got up from his seat and walked over to the drawer cabinet in his room. He opened one of the drawers and dug around a little before pulling out a stack of papers. He walked up to us and gave it to us. We looked over, and they were divorce papers. You already filed for divorce? Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while. What's stopping you? Oh, I don't know. I still hope that she'll realise how much our relationship has changed and maybe come back to me before it's too late. Oh, Barty, no matter what, we'll stand right behind you, all right? Thanks, I need any support I can get. Also, Dad, isn't it a bit risky to keep the divorce papers here in such plain sight? What if Mum finds them? Yeah, I've been living with that anxiety since I got them, but it's the only place in the house your mum barely comes into. How about you give it to us? We'll keep it safe. Yeah, that will work. Thanks again. Of course, Dad.
We ended up going to bed pretty late. By the time Jared and I went up to our room, it was almost 3 a.m. and both of us were exhausted. We haphazardly placed the divorce papers at the bottom of the bottom drawer. We then forgot about it, which in hindsight was pretty stupid. The next day, Jackie went back to her rude self. She began to make snide remarks and constantly found ways to insult me. She would yell at me for not helping her around the house, but whenever I did help her, she would complain about or make fun of me for the way I did the work. At mealtimes, she would purposely start talking about things that clearly made me uncomfortable, like my salary or the values I was brought up with, considering I was leeching off her son. Jared and Barty would want to say something, but I would always shoot them looks to stop them. I didn't want them interfering anymore. I was tired of everyone else doing Jackie's work for her. Jackie was getting away with everything because she always had Jared and Barty cleaning up the messes she made. With Jared and Barty not saying anything to her, she became even more unhinged. I realised she just did all these things because she wanted a reaction, and when she didn't get any, she became worse. The worst of all was 2 nights before we were supposed to leave. We were having dinner. Barty, Jared and I were just trying to finish eating fast enough and escape. It had become a regular thing for us to sit in the basement and just talk every night. But of course, Jackie needed to talk and say something rude. "You guys want to know what I found out the other day?" "Jackie, if there's going to be something rude or offensive, no one wants to know." "Oh hush, it's really interesting, I promise." "Fine, what is it, Mum?" "I found out that you guys hate Penny. See, Penny, your father-in-law and husband hate you as much as I do." "Excuse me? What are you talking about?" "Well, first of all, you guys stopped standing up for her. Secondly, don't think I don't know about how you guys escaped to the basement to talk every night. Does Penny know? And lastly, I saw the divorce papers in your drawer. Jared, you went snooping in our room? Is that really what you're focusing on? Your husband is going to divorce you. I was right. I predicted right." "That is enough, Jackie. It's gross enough that you violated their privacy, but it's another thing to be completely unapologetic for all the harm you did on their special day." "Barty, please. I've nothing to apologise for. Everything I said is coming true. I was right that these two would never last past a year." "Enough, Mum. Penny and I are going back into our room and we'll leave tomorrow morning. I'm tired of you." When we got to our room, Jared and I burst out laughing. We couldn't believe that Jackie had found the divorce papers Bart was going to give her and thought it was Jared's. The irony and absurdity of it all was hilarious. I mean, we were still upset and still planned to leave the next morning, but it was still funny to think about. But our plans to leave the next morning were interrupted by a knock on our door from Barty. He begged us to stay until the end of our stay because he planned on giving Jackie the divorce papers. He wanted us to be there as moral support. Of course, we couldn't say no to that. We wanted more than anything to see Jackie's reaction to the whole thing. Jackie was oblivious to everything that was happening. She did not sense the shift in the atmosphere around us. Jared and I were practically hopping with anxiety and excitement. Barty was even more reserved and he seemed like a nervous wreck. By the time dinner came, Barty seemed to have calmed himself down. Jackie continued talking about her findings from yesterday. She looked at me smugly and continued to talk down to me. It took every ounce of self-restraint to not break character at the moment and reveal Barty's plan, but eventually Barty had had enough and he stood up. "What are you doing, Barty?" "I've had enough. I'm done with you. I can't keep living like this." "What are you talking about?" "I want you out of my house in 2 weeks." "Why are you divorcing me? Is it because of this witch Penny? You did this, didn't you?" "Enough! I've been cleaning up after you for years. I can't keep living my life like this. I deserve more than someone who values themselves more than their partner." "Oh, please, I've done so much for you." "Yeah, you definitely did a lot to me, because to lose a lot of my relationships with people I love." "You're making a mistake." "I don't care. I just know that without you here, my life's quality will increase, and that's all I want." Jackie then started to cry and plead, but it was hard to sympathise with a woman who took so much pleasure in causing others pain. We took Barty with us, back to our place, so he wouldn't have to deal with Jackie anymore.
Jackie tried to contest the divorce, but Barty and she had signed a prenup at the time of marriage, so there's not much for Jackie to fight for. Barty has officially started living his life on his own terms. He looked happier and felt a lot freer. Jackie has moved out to God knows where. We didn't mind not knowing. Our wounds are still relatively fresh, but the twist of events does bring a smile to our faces. I guess if there was one thing I want you to take away from this experience of mine, it's to always stand up for yourself and never let anyone walk all over you. You never realize the extent of the damage someone causes you until you leave them. It may be a scary step to take, but it will be something that you will never regret. Thank you for listening.